you so much, everyone, for taking time to join us for our expert session. How two-way technology, variable goal times, and improved pace are optimizing the player experience at Foothills and Meadows. My name is Bodo Sieber, the CEO Tag Marshal, and I am delighted to welcome two guests from the Denver, Colorado area, Joe Pinson from Foothills. Joe, how are you this morning?
I am doing great, thank you.
And Brendan Murphy from their sister course, the Meadows, down the road. How are you, Brendan?
I'm doing well. Another beautiful day.
Amazing. Okay, we have a jam-packed deck to work through. So let me hand over to our guests. And Joe, if I could ask you to do an introduction on Foothills and also on yourself, how you ended up in the driving seat there at the course.
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Pinson from Denver, Colorado. I'm the head pro here at Foothills Golf Course. I've been a member since, let's see, I got in the business in '87, became a member in '91. Worked extensively for the city of Denver for 20 plus years, 25 years. I was able to come over here about 2 years ago, retire from the city of Denver, come over here to Foothills Golf Course. Our facility consists of an 18-hole championship course. We have an executive 9 course and a par 3 as well. We are very, very busy place, probably one of the busier public courses in the state, if not the country. We do well over 920, 930, 940 rounds a day. And just to give you an example, on Father's Day, we did over 1,025 rounds, I think, in one day. When I came over here, we were in a double wide trailer. We have a brand new facility, a brand new clubhouse now. We moved in April. So that's been a busy time for us, transitioning over to the new building. We went to a new point of sale system. We're with Member Sports now. We converted that, I believe, starting in January or February. So in the midst of converting from there to the clubhouse to a new fleet of golf carts, getting Tag Marshal set up on our new fleet and so forth. So needless to say, it's been a very, very busy year. With that, my introduction is done. I think I'll pass it over to Brendan.
Thanks. Thank you, Joe. So we learned two things. One is that you must be crazy to pick the busiest golf course in the state for your retirement gig.
Yeah.
And the second one is it's harder to switch point of sale systems than it is to build a whole new clubhouse.
This is true. This is very, very true.
Thank you for the introduction. And just quickly tell us before we switch over to Brendan, what would I expect to pay for a primetime round at Foothills Golf Club?
Sure. During the week, Monday through Thursday, our green fees are $47. On weekends, it's $57. Cart fees are $22 per person. We do have a portal where if you make a tee time with us 10 days in advance, you do have to make it online. You have to put a credit card down on file to hold the spot. It doesn't charge you. When you come in and pay the day of, that's when we can charge the card. If you create make a tee time 11 to 60 days out, we have a portal where you would prepay. You're going to pay the rack rate. There are no junior rates or senior rates or anything of that nature. We do upcharge $15 per player on that portal. And that's just a guarantee that if somebody wants to come from out of town and make a tee time 30 days out, they want to guarantee a tee time, they can go that route. The reason why we charged the $15 fee was last year we gave them an out of they could cancel the tee time within 24 hours. So what our seniors figured out, or some of our people figured out, that they can make a tee time 30 days out, wait till about 24, 48 hours, go in at midnight, cancel the time, get all their money back, and then go in and rebook the time and get the book their time for the senior rate or their junior rate or whatever it was. So we have a non-refundable $15 charge on that just to keep that from happening again. It's worked out really, really well. A lot of people use it. Actually, surprisingly, surprisingly so, that a lot of people use that portal and they don't mind paying that extra $15 because they're not fighting the crowds, or they're not
Sure.
fighting the public to actually make the tee times. They're guaranteeing themselves a tee time for that day, and they're good to go. So
Yeah, there's so much demand, right? So, but trust the golfers to figure out any loophole, right?
that's so true.
But you're onto it now. Thanks for that yeah, intro. Brendan, tell us about the Meadows and also how you ended up yeah, all the way in Colorado.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, my name is Brendan Murphy, the head golf professional at the Meadows Golf Club here in Littleton, Colorado. Meadows Golf Club is the sister course of the Foothills Golf Course. We fall under what is called the Foothills Park and Recreation District. We provide a lot of community resources to the Jefferson County area. Golf is one of the amenities. We have hockey, we have baseball, soccer fields, trails, parks. We manage about 15 different parks throughout the community. So we really have a mission statement of creating community, enhancing health, inspiring play. It's kind of what our goal is, and golf is just one of the amenities that we provide to our local community. What brought me out here, I like Joe, have been in golf a very long time. I'm a second generation golf professional. My father was a PGA golf professional in upstate New York, played a little out on the tour. So I grew up in a bassinet behind the golf shop counter. It's not an exaggeration. The youngest of five. All my brothers and sisters worked in the golf industry at some point. And I started working in the golf industry in the late 70s. I know, it's shocking looking at me. So it's been a long time. My career has mainly been on the East Coast of the United States. I owned and operated a golf course for over a decade in upstate New York, 36-hole, semi-private, very busy facility. And then I also worked for the Trump organization as a golf professional down at Doral in Miami before moving on to the Breakers in Palm Beach, and another resort community. So I really enjoyed the resort side of things. But looking at my later years, like Joe, looking to figure out how I'm going to retire in this crazy industry after COVID, I wanted to be back in a market that was more seasonal, and I wanted to kind of get back to my roots, which was public daily fee golf. I really enjoyed that. That's where I began my career. A lot of new players coming into the game. I love resort golf. It's a great experience, but it's a different market, and I really wanted to be kind of back at my roots where it all began. You know, young people, older people, everybody enjoying the game, and accessibility, and that's really what the Foothills is about.
Yeah. So how many rounds can I play at the Foothills for a single round at Doral? Have you worked that out?
Oh, you can play unlimited. Our daily spend at the Doral was about 2,000 a player. At the Breakers in Palm Beach, the average daily spend was 5,000 a person per day between hotel, restaurants, everything.
Yeah.
It's a little different clientele.
So I can play about 100 rounds with you guys my whole season. Yeah, I do love how committed you are to growing the game, and obviously that doesn't happen by chance; it happens by design. And yeah, really enjoy yeah, seeing that you're walking the walk as far as the delivery of the experience that you're trying to create is concerned, and really making golf accessible, and yeah, also getting more new golfers onto the golf course. I know that has been a theme, right? The National Golf Foundation reported that last year, 3.8 million people played on a golf course for the first time, and 66% of them had some previous experience off course, which is generally top golf, right? We're going to talk a little bit about how you make sure that you can be welcoming to those new golfers, and obviously also how tech helps you as we go through our session today. Jens, thank you again for your introduction, and yeah, very excited to learn a bit more about how you do things. From Tag Marshal's side, we have been in the game now for 9 years. and we've tracked 75 million rounds. That has really ratcheted up substantially over the last while, because more and more golf courses are dialing into the technology. And you can see here 10 million data points means that's a lot of food for our machine learning and AI backend, right? Because it needs to be fed with data so it can work on its predictive success. We're very excited that we get to work with some of the very best golf courses, including Pinehurst and Valhalla that hosted amazing majors this year, but also the old course at St. Andrews, which is a not an easily managed course because it has a crossover section, and actually from a pace point of view, it should be redesigned, but we're not going to tell them that. That is the OG, right? 470 years old, and it's wonderful for us to see that they've turned to technology. And also we tracked actually the Ladies Open there just a few months ago. For us, it's great to work with so many aspirational courses that everyone's play at because they really are the trailblazers, right? But the majority of our clubs are really the good club down the road, solving the same problems. And it's wonderful to see that there's really, really standout operators at a club that is much lower on its resourcing than, for instance, the Pinehurst, achieving exactly the same results, right? And that's really what excites us as far as Tag Marshal goes, because we had to help change an industry and bring it into the future with the help of technology. Back to Joe, if you wouldn't mind, if you want to serve our players, which both your golf courses are really good at, we need to understand what's important to them, right? What do they value the most when it comes to experience? So if I asked you, Joe, to pick three out of this list of course design, conditioning, clubhouse amenities, pace and flow of play, playing partners, accessibility, tee time availability. You mentioned a bit about your pre-book system that plays into that, I guess, value and cost. So if you needed to get three things right for golfers in your experience, what would they be?
Great question. I think looking at that list here, I think the first one for me has always been course condition. I mentioned this earlier. I remember my dad having a conversation with a superintendent years and years and years ago, and he made the statement of, hey, just make sure the greens are good. I don't care what the tee boxes look like. I can deal with the fairways. Make sure the greens are good and work your way out. And so I've always kind of stuck with that. I've always liked that. That thought process. So yeah, give us good greens, and then you go from there. And then the superintendent, should be easy for the superintendent to work their way out from there. I think the next thing would be the pace of play, making sure that the customers are playing at a decent rate or a decent timing, I should say. There's nothing worse than getting behind a slow group and confronting that slow group. We've had a couple of different things that different ways of communicating with them. Tag Marshal's one of them, but I think the other, I've heard a couple golf pros talk about when people come up to you and say, hey, well, I paid my green fee, I'm going to play slow. Well, yes, you did pay your green fee, but you didn't purchase the golf course. You purchased a rented tee time, a moving rented tee time, and you should be up on number 6 green, not back here on 4 tee box. Another analogy was a 2-lane highway. If you get stuck behind a semi on a 60-mile-an-hour road and he's going 40, you get stuck behind that truck, and then everybody else gets stuck behind him. And you come up to him and say, hey, tell him that scenario and say, you're the truck, please. Yeah, got to give him a little push there. So I think pace of play is big. And then I'm going to say value to cost of value. That's big. We've all, even with Denver and us, we try and keep it very, very affordable here. We try not to gouge anybody. We keep the green fees reasonable. And you want the best possible course condition and the best value for the customer, bang for their buck. So I think those are my top 3. So and that's where I'd go with that.
Thanks, Joe. I love the analogies, and the the tee time being moving, and it means that you got to keep moving. I think that's a good one. You didn't purchase or rent the whole golf course for the day. That's easy, hopefully, to compute. Brendan, for yourself, what would you say are the top three?
Very similar to Joe. I put value and cost right at the top there. Again, being part of the Foothills Park and Recreation District, we are a nonprofit organization, and we do have kind of a mission to provide accessibility at a reasonable cost to the community. They support us through some of their tax dollars. So it's important that they feel that they're getting value when they come out to play. As Joe mentioned, Monday through Thursday, we have senior rates, junior rates, resident rates. We have some really affordable golf Monday through Thursday. And that value and cost kind of spill over into accessibility and tee time availability. And with accessibility and tee time availability, especially post-COVID, as popular as golf has become, it kind of dovetails right into pace of play and flow. You know, guests' lives are very busy. A lot of new people coming into golf. They come out with an expectation that they're going to be able to play their 9 holes in just over 2 hours, or play 18 holes in about 4 hours, because they're fitting it in with all the other responsibilities they have. So for us, it's important that we can provide that. It's kind of a contract between us and them. We make their reservation, we take their money. We can't then forget about them, send them out in the golf course, and let them just play it in a 5-6 hour round. That's not fair. So I put value and cost with accessibility, and then pace of play. Everything is important, course conditions, but value kind of really trumps everything for my guess.
Yeah, really nicely put, and I do know that you take it very seriously. It shows in the data and in your performance. And I think your golfers they can count themselves lucky to have such proactive managers, and also good teams to ensure that they get the value, as you're saying, right? And the fact that you booked up all the time speaks for itself. Thank you, gents. Just to back you up here, course conditioning comes out tops according to this major USGA survey that I think they quizzed about 30,000 golfers, and 82% saying that's their top factor. So Joe, you're quite right, and that's what your dad used to say, like, give us great greens and we'll be happy as golfers, right? It's still that way. And when it comes to conditioning and budget for it, generally the consensus is as much as possible, right? How much more money can we find to throw at this, because it's never going to go to waste. I do think we need some level of sustainability in this too. We're not Augusta National, but there are obviously expectations that players have, because they're watching these amazing majors, and then when they play on the weekend for $50, they want a little bit of that, right? Where possible. Number 2 is playing partners in my group. So this is hopefully managed by the players. It speaks to accessibility a little bit. And number 3, 74% saying pace is important to them. And more recently, the NGCOA, the National Golf Course Owners Association, did a survey what is important to operators and course owners. And pace here also came out top 3, and 84% of operators said that's a key priority for them. And I want to just place one thought here with you. I think that pace, so in 2019 was a bit of a frustration, because golf had this this culture, or this cultural assignment of it's a bit slow, and it's a bit old, and it's a bit boring, right? So anything that seemed slow, people were a bit allergic to. Then all of a sudden, 2020, 2021, with COVID, we were so happy that we could just get out there and play. And also, a lot of clubs had to do single riding. A lot of clubs did walking, so things were quite quick, and people had a bit more time because they had less other things to do. But now we're right back to, and you said it, people are busy. busier than ever, maybe, and because of technological advancements and service advancements, we're also less patient, right? Because now we've got Amazon Prime and we've got DoorDash and we've got Uber, and everything needs to happen right now. So if we're stuck out on a golf course, we probably, as golfers, especially the new generation golfers that we're all trying to get out on the golf course, they are less patient, right? So we have to take it seriously, and you at your courses certainly do. Just one bit of research here that shows that it's good for your business to take this seriously, right? And one of the indicators of are you running a successful business is obviously, well, are you making money, and is your T-sheet booked? But an indicator is the Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score means how likely are you to recommend this golf course to your friends and peers, rated out of 10? And there's a lot of post-round research tools and survey tools that do that job for you in an automated way. And this one also has a USGA research that was presented by Players First. And they found that if you do 3 things really well, make players feel welcome, there needs to be good flow out on the golf course, and then players want to meet on-course staff. They want to feel looked after during the 4 hours that they're out there. The restaurant visit goes up and the Net Promoter Score goes sky high. That's success, right? If you don't do that, Net Promoter Score tanks. People don't come back. They don't visit your restaurant. And some of them will even leave a bad rating on Google for you, right? Because you didn't deliver according to what is important to them. So, yeah, it seems so simple, but like I said earlier, it doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. And that is where you both have deployed technology. Let me just jump in here with Brendan briefly. So which system did you decide on? And obviously you're no stranger to technology out on the golf course. So which of the tag marshal systems have you got going at the Meadows?
We're using the GPS monitors that are on the golf cart. The 7-inch screens out there. So we have those installed in all of our golf carts. And then we're using the analytics hub on the back end. And then we're also using the two-way mobile app to communicate with the golfers out on the golf course.
Yeah, so we have the 8-inch and the 10-inch, and we also have a classic tracker that gets hidden away because we know that a screen is not relevant at every course, especially private clubs. We also do have walker tags that very often get used by caddies at private clubs or at a resort like Abandon. But all of what we're expecting from these units and these IoT units is that they send data on a regular basis to our system, and then we make that data available. A lot of our partners saying, well, it's a bit like Google Maps, right? Or a bit like Waze. So I know what's happening out on my golf course. And then we have a lot of underlying data that helps you make better decisions. Well, here's what this looks like. Let me jump back in here with Joe. And this is what the courses look like in the world of Tag Marshal. And we're going to look at Foothills because it's nice and compact and we can see a bit of a story. Joe, just from your side, 2 questions. Firstly, what do you see if you look at this for 5 seconds? Where do you need to pay attention out on the golf course? And how do you know to pay attention there?
Well, I'm going to look at
look at the colors, right?
Yes, I'm going to look at hole 17. I'm going to look at hole 5. 13 in the red. It's on 12. And then let's see here. What else?
Group number 2 up.
Right? Yeah. Hole 17 with cart number 2, and then hole number 5 with cart 33. See what's going on with that. And then I'm not seeing 35. What's the
so it's not necessarily sequential, right? So 35
right.
might not play. Maybe it's maybe it's down for service.
Sure.
Yeah, I think what we're showing here is that it takes Joe literally 5 seconds to understand what's happening out on the course. And if you think back to a time where you didn't have that line of sight,
Yeah,
you would have had to radio someone out there. They would be on the wrong side of the course. They radio somebody else, and it'd take you half an hour to get some sort of view of what's happening, right? And at
right,
that point, everything's already changed again.
right.
Um, Joe, who have you got dialed into having line of sight of this at the course, just from
So
a
we do,
point of view?
yeah. So we have our course assistant. We also have our starters and so forth. What I'm going to do, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to find out just exactly what's going on before I send. I can actually send a message. If you look at our map, we actually have an executive course and a par three that our course assistant could be there as well. So I'm looking at I want to look at make sure that they're on time or off time, or if there's a group in front of them, there may be some walkers out front before I actually confront them. But I will send them a message. I can send a message through Tag Marshall and say, hey, this group is being slow. We need you to speed up or whatever. We love that feature to where we can send out messages. We can send out anything we want to. Say you want to get a Coke at the end of after 9 holes if you want to do anything you want. So yeah, as far as speed of play, it's been very, very helpful for us just to kind of analyze where the problem is. And it might not even be that cart 33. It might be the group in front of them that's having the issue. So we certainly want to do our due diligence before we confront somebody.
Yeah.
Love the fact that we can confront them via the message before a person actually gets out there. So then they kind of they know what to expect. If they see a ranger, hey, you're right, we're slow or whatever. So kind of eases our course assistant into going to confront them.
Mm. Yeah, I think how you present that message is very important, right? You need to be firm about your policies, right? Because you are responsible for, you said it earlier, sometimes 1,000 players, right? And
I'd,
one,
I'd, I'd rather have 4 people mad at or the 4 people that are mad at me than the 100 or so that are behind you, that are screaming at us to do something about it,
yeah,
So
100%. So it's a good decision, but it obviously helps to be accurate about it and to have data to back you when it comes to having these conversations. Brendan, on your side, yeah, who have you got dialed in at the Meadows, and also tell us about the integration that you have with member sports. Like we've got 20 or so integrations with G-Sheets.
So we utilize this in many locations throughout the property. I always have it up on my desk. It's something that I just kind of toggle back and forth between. My player assistant out on the golf course carries a dedicated cell phone. So it allows me to have conversations with him to just kind of make sure that he's understanding the course, that we're working together. We also keep it up in our golf shop, and our golf shop staff is kind of aware of it. It's helpful for them for a couple reasons. Sometimes they get calls from golfers from the golf course with, lost equipment or pace of play concerns. It allows them to kind of look at it as well. You may have a group stating there's a pace of play issue, and it really isn't. So we're not chasing our tail. We actually have good information. They can talk to them. And like Joe said, our starters also have this up. So this is being utilized by so many of our staff members, so many people on it. And what's so great about that is we're so much more proactive now. Where before, when we weren't using this system, we may get a call from a group on the golf course saying there's a group on the 14th hole that's 3 holes behind. Well, unfortunately, at the 14th hole, that's not the time that you're really going to have much of an impact on pace of play. It's those early interactions that happen on the 2nd or 3rd hole when a group starts to fall a little out of position, where you can have that gentle conversation, reminding them of the pace of play. Because sometimes that's all it takes. A group if we're a beautiful golf course or a beautiful day, the groups can just start enjoying themselves and forget that there's anybody else out there, which is wonderful. But we have to remind them that, yes, as much as you love the golf course and your experience, you're not the only one out here. Just maintain pace with the group in front of you. And once they're made aware of that, that's that interaction you have early that kind of stops a problem from becoming even before it's a problem. And that's really when you want to do it. You want to fix it before it even becomes a problem.
Sure. Yeah, prevention is better than cure, right? And you can never get that time back. Once your day is backed up by 20 minutes, it's a lost cause, right? So you need to be proactive. So there's a few dynamic variables that our system calculates. One of them is, like you said, where on the course is this group that's falling out of position? Because if they're on the third hole and they're out by 5 minutes, they're going to do much more damage than when they're on the 17th hole and out by 5 minutes, right? Then the other thing that we calculate is how big is the tail? Like how many groups are they impacting right now with their slowdown? If it's nobody behind them, well, it's not as urgent as if it's two groups that are already impacted. And there's a number of those variables, like what is their trend like? Are they getting worse? Are they stable? Are they getting better? Right. So, and then we're trying to translate that with our algorithms onto the screen, so you can immediately see what the biggest problem is, and you can immediately prioritize where's the head of the snake, right? Where to tackle your proactive management. It's not always easy to see as a course winds into each other, and the physical distance between players is not as representative as the actual time gap between them, right? So if you're running a 10-minute interval, you want that 10 minutes to be retained throughout the round as much as possible. And that is what we're showing down here at the gap time monitor. We can actually see the groups as they move across the various zones on a hole, and what's the gap time between them. And ironically, that's how the tours, the DP World Tour and those the USGA with the amateur events and so on, that's how they understand the field. And because they're going to a different golf course every weekend, right, when they're hosting these events, they want to understand the gap time, and that's their key indicator. And we've taken that on as a way to look at the field that's easily understandable. You mentioned, both of you, obviously running the screen option, that it's quite helpful to be able to send out messages, which we'll get to in just a minute. But one of the things that you're both deploying is a feature called geofencing. So yeah, let me just stick with Brendan here for a second. Yeah, how is that helpful to you protecting your turf? And I know that everyone thinks Colorado is snowed under, and you need snow boots to get around in winter, but there is actually some play possible, right? But you have to look after your golf course. So how is it useful to have the geofencing for you and the superintendents?
Well, here at the Meadows Golf Club, like the name says, we are in a meadow, so we have a lot of tall native grass that lines almost all of our holes. And those areas are, again, being part of a park and recreation district. Those are native areas that we maintain, even though they're native, and we protect them as a protected environment. So because of that, we can't have golf carts driving through the native, even though they come into play for a lot of golfers, unfortunately, with errant tee shots. The geofencing reminds golfers, and especially with us, we have a lot of first-time players who may be new to golf or new to our golf course, unlike a private club where it's very easy to communicate with a fixed group of golfers. These areas are not to be entered. The golf cart allows us to remind players when they're entering those areas of the native. It also works for our superintendent when we have areas that we need to protect, whether it's a maintenance area where he's top dressed and overseated, or an area where we've had unusual water accumulation, where we want to manage the golf carts in those areas. And those are moving targets. So again, it allows us to very easily communicate to the players out there that they're entering these areas, and these are areas they want to avoid. Without it, we look like a Bugs Bunny cartoon out there with all the signs we would have telling everybody where to drive. So it really kind of cleans up the golf course an awful lot. And if you have too many signs, people stop reading them.
Sure, yeah, I agree.
Joe, I know that you make extensive use of that as well. And just for our listeners, basically, if somebody goes into a geofenced area, the unit starts beeping like a truck reversing, right? And it shows this geofence alert on the display, so it takes away the yardage. Yes. And it's a difficult thing to ignore. Is your superintendent dialing into this, and are they Are they telling you, hey, we got to move the geofence, turn this on, turn this off? I need to protect the turf here or there. Is it working for them on the Foothills course?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, trying to keep people out of the native is always tough. We come out and catch them and say, "Hey, guys, you got to come out here. It's beeping on you." Um, but as far as like wet spots, every once in a while, if we get a broken head somewhere and it's really wet, we can put a couple signs out there, like Brendan says, but we can always put a geofencing around, like even in a fairway somewhere, just for the day, which is very convenient. We're having issues here. Please drive around this way, and then our superintendent should get out there and put a rope and kind of guide the people around that troubled area. That's worked well for us. But as far as our golf course, we have a lot of native area, but we have a lot of roads also that go in between there that aren't in play, that we can, I guess, take off geofencing to where the carts can go through the road rather than driving over the weeds or over the turf, and guiding people that way. So it's nice to see that the alarm goes off, and so it does give the customer, hey, I'm in a bad spot. I need to turn around. So
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, we obviously take for granted that the GPS is giving us like pinpoint accuracy, right? But it's actually a miracle of technology. Like a GPS satellite is around 12,000 miles high, and it triangulates a position, right? So for it to get it right, this is where this device is right now, down to a yard or so, is actually incredible, right?
that is amazing.
And it's a moving target, like, because the golf cart's not stationary, it's moving. And sometimes there's bad weather, and sometimes there's trees. So yeah, we sometimes say it's military grade, not quite, and we don't want drone strikes on the golf course. But it's actually incredible that the technology and that it's accessible, right? We have it on our phones now, right? Our phones knows where we're at. Yeah, one of the things that's also useful, and we know that for superintendents, especially in areas where they're trying to protect the turf through a non-growing season, or also courses looking to potentially do renovations, is the heat map visualization. So you can then look at a time period and saying, where do the carts go a lot? Where do they also stand, right? Because it's more compaction. And also, where do they never go, right? Because sometimes there's opportunity to actually trim back some turf and save on maintenance. If nobody ever goes onto an area on the fairway, never ever, why do we need to throw our budget on that? So yeah, I know that this is something that that you may want to dig into now in your off season, and if you have a superintendent that's interested in technology, they may just thank you that that's available, right? Let's jump ahead on using the technology to optimize the play experience and revenue, because as much as you're not for profit, you need to make sure that you're sustainable. And so from an efficiencies point of view, that's obviously where technology, if it does its job right at its best, it helps people get more done without all the legwork, right? And Joe, I know that that you use the messaging quite extensively, and here's one example of those. Tell us a little bit how that's useful at the Foothills.
Yeah, it's useful, especially at night when we're trying to gather herd the cats coming in off of the golf course at night. We'll send a message out there, and it'll be a blast. It's set for a certain time to go out. Hey, thank you for playing our golf course. Sun is setting. It's time to get the carts in, finish your hole, and come on in. That's been very helpful for us as far as getting people in and not staying out late at night. We certainly watch tag marshal as well. We can see where the cart is if it is still out after dark. Utilizing that, and again sending another message. We can send it to the individual golf cart or to the entire fleet. It's worked out really well for us. I think this winter, I really want to utilize messaging and use it as a teaching tool as well, especially this winter. We can put out there, hey, why are there frost delays? You know, what happens to the grass when you walk on the grass uh, during a frost delay? Because we get a lot of questions like that, and just different things to teach the people what and why we do what we do. So, and then obviously, if we have any kind of issues with one of the golf holes or one of the any kind of construction going on, we can message that. So, yeah, it's gonna be fun for me this winter because I'm getting my knee replaced here in about 2 weeks. So I'll be at home. I'll be able to go through this a whole lot more extensively, which is gonna be fun. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, so we have a captive audience for our customer success partner to coach and help you dial into it a bit more. And all the best for the operation. You timed it nicely to the end of the season there.
I did.
That's experience. Yeah, jumping ahead, one of the features that we have is called a track map, and it's basically a recording of every single round that gets played at your golf course that you can go back to. Jumping back to Brendan, yeah, do you ever use that, and how is it useful at the Meadows?
The track map is very helpful for us. As again, a broken record, we're part of a Foothills Park and Recreation District. So a lot of our community members who play here feel that they own the golf course. And if they have an experience that they don't feel was up to their standards, they're very quick to reach out to the director of the Park and Recreation District, going many levels up, and it's saying that, you know, this happened out on the golf course to me today. And so then I'll get a conversation with the director of our Foothills Park and Recreation, and I can explain, well, cart 42, this is what happened. This is why we interacted with them. These are the communications we had with that guest and why we had those communications. So that is very, very important. Also, occasionally we'll have a damage to a golf cart, and being able to know who was on that golf cart, what time they're on that golf cart, where the golf cart was operated, makes those conversations with the guest who may have damaged the golf cart a lot easier to say, you know, Mr. Johnson, you were issued cart 33, you teed off at 10:15. This is your track around the golf course. The cart was returned at 2:45. This damage was seen on the golf cart. You know, it's a lot easier to have those conversations. So it's a great tool to be able to kind of look at the history of the golf course, look at the history of the guest experience throughout their round. Without it, it's a he said, she said scenario. And, you know, with any golf course, range rain is always a very sensitive issue. And we all want great customer satisfaction. And sometimes the loudest voices run the room. And so it's nice to be able to say that, you know, Mr. Johnson actually isn't right. And, you know, that's difficult because the customer is always right. We come from a customer service world. We want to provide a great customer's experience, but occasionally we do need to take the actions we take for very specific reasons. And if we don't have this data, it's very hard to justify why we're having to take the actions we're taking, whether it's in private or public.
Cool. Yeah, that makes all the sense. And down here you can see a geofence breach very clearly. And I know that we have courses that have got some elevation, and they run. The Keystone is one of them. They're up the road from you, and I think Philip might even be on this call, or he was earlier. They have, yeah, they need to tame the golfers in that if they go downhill, they need to slow down. So they've got warning signs popping up on the screen, right, to help educate. But every now and then the golfers don't want to listen, and then, you know, it's obviously so helpful. You don't want anything to happen to them, but if it does, and if the cart gets damaged, hopefully they didn't get damaged, but then at least you have a way to ensure that there's accountability, right? We even also recently had a case of 15 golf carts or so being stolen at one of our Canadian partners. They had a geofence set up at night, which they set up to run from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. So anything that moves in that time sends an alert. So they knew something's going on. And then they were able to trace and recover the vehicles.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Canada is dangerous, I tell you. So that is just 2 or 3 weeks ago that happened, right? So those weren't the screens; they were the hidden away trackers, so that whoever stole the cards wasn't aware that they were in there. But yeah, it's just helpful to have that information. Yeah, one of the other things that we know helps the convenience of the players, but it also helps speed things up is food orders, and also just from a communication point of view, running ads for your services, your offerings, whatever your clubhouse has got going on. Brendan, I know that's something that you're starting to look at, and there's even availability to recover some of the costs. What's your experience with that, or is it something that you're interested in?
Oh, we utilize it now on it helps us on our 8th hole. We have a message popping up to let guests know that food service is available at the turn. It's strongly recommended through the messaging to order in advance, so it's waiting for you. We have that was something we started this year, and it really has helped our turn times because, as you know, just preparing food and getting it out. We allow 5 minutes additional at the turn, which wouldn't be enough time if a guest was to go in and order a hamburger and fries. They wouldn't be able to prepare it. It's going to start slowing things down at the turn. So our guests have really taken advantage of that. We utilize it. We have a tunnel that is between our 11th and 12th hole, which is really a one-way tunnel. So we use the warning alert as they're approaching the tunnel, let them know that they're approaching a one-way tunnel to slow down, expect oncoming traffic. That has lowered the number of incidences we had with accidents happening in and around the tunnel. So geofencing communication that kind of pops up in various locations around the golf course is huge. We use a lot for maintenance. I have a hole right now, number 3 is the tee box is closed down. So we have it so as you leave the second green, it lets you know that there's a temporary tee located for this hole. So those type of communications are invaluable to us. The guest isn't wandering around looking for the second tee box. They know, oh, it's over here now. And it's a lot easier than making signs and putting signs out. And again, things change. So you have a sign made, and next week that sign is obsolete because the information isn't up to date anymore. Where with this, I can change it as it needs be. And like Joe said, it could be time of day of week. Certain messages are only relevant at certain times of the day. So putting a sign out there wouldn't even work unless you're putting on the sign. Ignore this sign unless it's 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. That's silly.
Yeah, no, that's some great examples, and I like it's dynamic, right? You can set it by time of day, and it's geolocated, right, depending on the area. So we love to see those use cases, and obviously we've got a media team in-house that helps courses get more ads on board, and they use the same technology, right? You can literally tell a story for a brand partner, starting at the tee box, through the fairway, onto the green. Yeah, and you can imagine the golf apparel brands and the club manufacturers love that ability to really interact with the players out on the course doing what they love. We even have a partner up in Michigan. He knows that if a cart is going towards one side of a fairway that is quite wooded, this group of golfers have just lost the ball in the woods. And then up pops an ad. If you need balls, we deliver a sleeve for you. Right? You can just let us know, and then they drive them out. That was quite smart. That too, yeah. You can choose either golf lesson or a sleeve of balls. Nice. So obviously at Tag Marshall, we're data nerds, and we learn a lot from data. Because as much as you experienced as an operator, you would have only ever worked at 3, 4, 5 operations, right? That is your world of understanding, and that's invaluable information. But we're learning from millions of rounds of golf, right? And that is what we're trying to bring back through the system. And just helping for the course operators make better decisions around what are those incremental gains that we can look for? Where are the choke points out on the golf course? Why do they happen? But also how are we doing from a performance point of view? So this is a day in September at the Foothills where your average round time is 4 hours, 12 minutes, 81% of your group's coming through on pace. So this one thing that I really like that you have set up, Joe, at the Foothills, is that is something called a variable goal time. So you're starting your day at a 4-hour goal time. So the system is managed, and you call that early wave, and then 4:10 is the next wave, and then it goes up to 4:20. So this is really successful where you're staggering your goal time, and the system is dialed in a bit tighter so that you're starting your day faster, because everyone wants that first tee time out. You will always sell it, right?
Yep.
Why? Because nobody's in front of those people. But if we can show that, hey, you can play this course really quickly in sub 4 hours, virtually guaranteed at the first 3 tee times, that's obviously valuable to the players, and it's valuable to you because you're pulling your day along and things speed up. And we've got a lot of operators that then they really dial into that, and they understand, we can play this course in 3 hours 40, let's advertise, but then also we can tighten our intervals a bit because players move so much more quickly, and they're the better players that choose those tee times. We can then actually squeeze another tee time out of that prime time period. So that is where some of these strategies really then come to fruition once you understand how the course really runs. I know that's something that you're dialing into more and more from a reporting point of view, and I just want to stress again that our team, our customer success team, is always available to help also point out, hey, have you noticed this, and here's where you're doing well. Let me jump in with Meadows quickly on, 4 hours and 6 minutes, that's a good day at the office. And I know that you're tracking interactions and you've getting it's quite a nicely oiled machine now. You actually brought your entire season, that's April through September, in at 3 hours 55. And I think you must put that all over your social media, sub 4 hours. At the Meadows, great. Look, the Foothills might be a longer course, so you can maybe not achieve that, but it's that 4 hours is obviously a great result. How is it helping you, Brennan, from dialing into the data, making better decisions, but also from a reporting standpoint and making sure that your team get better at what they're doing?
So I came in. I'm completing my second season. So last year was my first season here at the Meadows Golf Club. And I kind of just observed that first year, didn't want to take take a bulldozer to everything they were doing. And so what I was looking at was what our pace of play was at that time. And I come from, again, a different background where pace of play is critical. Mm-hmm. And I was seeing a lot of rain checks being issued at the turn, a lot of groups. We are down. Number of dry day rain checks have dropped by about 70%. Wow. So it was staggering, the number of rain checks that were being issued. So I reached out to Jack, because Jack is my in-house tag marshal representative, and I was new to tag marshal. So Jack and I kind of dug into it last fall, looking at our areas, and we reallocated our times and what we thought would be best across the holes, created a new target time. And that's when I brought on all of our player assistants to fully utilize Tag Marshal and train them how we can do this. So yeah, it was invaluable, especially looking at being able to, for me to have a full year of data to look back at. And that data is what drove the decision-making of what our roadmap was going to be to bring down the pace of play. And you saw it. My pace of play was well over 4.5 hours. And this year we brought it down to under 4. So that is, I don't want to take all the credit, because I couldn't have done it without Tag Marshal, and that information. And we're not done. I think there's still room for improvement, and it's incremental at this point. The one that was shocking to me, you kind of shown it there, the hole by hole. Our hole number 9 is taking over 20 minutes to play. I would never have ever assumed that without being able to see it. So this winter, we're going to look at, some course setups and things we can do to try to improve that. And, if the hole is as challenging as that, we need to adjust for that. But I think we can bring it down. But again, without this, we never would have seen that we're taking over 20 minutes to play just one hole. And then they go into the turn and we lose over a half hour between the 9th tee box and 10th tee box. Is taking guests well over a half hour to transition through one hole. That's an opportunity area.
Sure. No, you're right, and you can never know enough about your golf course, right? The more data you have, the better decisions you can drive. So here's your hole number 9. That's your problem child, but you can also see that the time on tee box, because that's broken down. You have your tee box fairway green breakdown. So time on tee box is actually the longest portion, right? And this is the frustration for golfers, right? So if you can understand that better, why is that happening? That's when you can incrementally improve, or you can just accept, hey, this hole actually deserves an 18-minute allocation. Maybe we can shave off 2 minutes, but maybe we need to make the hole ahead of it a little bit tougher so that we can buy a little bit of time here so that the players don't wait on the tee box, but they rather have a tougher pin placement to maneuver on the previous hole. So those things, the beauty of having that data is you can make a change, you can run it, and sometimes it's a simple thing, like there's a bush or there's a small tree, and it actually costs you 5 minutes, and it's all incremental, and 12 minutes saved is an additional tee time, right? So and less frustration. So what's great to see down here too is that that is your on pace and faster breakdown. So you've got 80% on pace or within 10 minutes, and that's a good day at the office. But like we keep saying, it happens by design, and it happens because you put the effort in. And you made that important point earlier. Be early on in the round when it comes to those live interactions and interventions. Okay, let's jump ahead on some of the sort of seasonal data. It's great to see that your day starts really quickly, and then there's that hump of 9 to 10. That's when you really want your resources at the course to pay attention. And then obviously we've got our breakdown, month on month. You know when you're busy. I mean, you've got your tee sheet and your revenues show the same. Hopefully the weather is great and you can continue that. But it's just good to know from a resource allocation point of view, what days of the week are critical, when do we need to pay attention, so that we can be accurate. And just from a group's status point of view, only 2.7% of your groups out for this entire season have been delayers, right? So those are like John, you said it earlier. Joe, sorry, you said it earlier. We need to get on top of those couple of groups so that they don't mess up the day for everyone behind them. And right. Even though things are so tightly managed, you can see that 3% of players are influencing 15%. But I promise you, if you weren't so on it, this dial would be orange and red right through 3/4 of it, right?
If you pulled up last year, you'd see it.
But that is, again, like, it's by design, and it's amazing to see. And we very often see that in season 1, the live map is the game changer, right? Now we know what's going on. Season 2, okay, let's dig into the data, look at those incremental opportunities. And season 3 is that, like, how can we one up? What are our next opportunities? And that's when there's real returns. I need to keep us on time. That is my job, and we've got 2 minutes. I think we've done well, gents. Maybe a closing thought, Joe, from your side. Obviously, we're serving the players. What has their response been to the technology, and also you yourself and your team? Is it something that you're happy? Saying it's been a good thing that we've got this.
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been very good. The customers love it. Every once in a while we'll catch one tag marshal that has a glitch, maybe gets on phone or whatever, and it shuts off. They will change carts. They'll let us know, and we'll go out just a quick fix. But it's been really, really good for us. I love the fact that the messaging, especially we'll do a message early on in the round as they leave the first tee, and it'll pop up, kind of give the rules of golf. Then at the end, it'll say, okay, you are responsible for this golf cart. Please take a good look at it. We already know that the golf cart is in good shape. Uh, press here to continue back to the GPS. And it's kind of an acknowledgement that they've said, yeah, the golf cart is in good shape. Bring it back in good shape. So kind of gives them the responsibility there. So as far as the employees, as far as the customers, they love it, and we love it. You know, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of information in here that I think we've just scratched the surface with. And we certainly know that there's more in there that we can dig out. And that's what we're looking forward to this winter, to really dive in and get more of that information and put it to use. So yeah, it's been good. So, and the customers love it. So
That's amazing. And you have timed your operation so that you can once the pain meds are wearing off, we get Jack on a call with you, or your customer
yeah,
success.
that's actually going to be the plan. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Joe. Brendan, from your side, good thing?
Fantastic. I mean, obviously, as I said, this year was the first year that I really took advantage of Tag Marshall being my second year here. Really, this year we went for the low-hanging fruit, and we can see what a huge impact that has had. I look forward to now refining it, and with the help of the data and help with the team, really refining our processes through the winter months, refining the training on our staff. We didn't talk about how each one of our players' assistants can have their own personal login with them, so that I can then start tracking how are my players' assistants doing on the golf course? How quickly are they responding to groups? And those are coaching moments, not gotcha moments. And those coaching moments, those small little incremental changes, will create large impacts. And we're always looking for new revenue potential. And, you know, I'm just looking at if in the first 2 hours of the day, I can put in one more tee time in my first hour block and one additional tee time in my second hour block. Between the two golf courses, we'd be looking at, in just a half a year, $250,000 in revenue. And, you know, Joe and I get a 50% split. Really, really impactful.
Wait, you get what? You what? That's news to me here.
Yeah, nice one. I know. Look, if you are financially healthy, you get more resources from the city, right? And you can do a better job. And hopefully they'll also make sure that you're looked after. And when we work with some of our partners, they say, well, the city never allowed me to come to the PGA show or do these education seminars, and now I can do it. I've got 2 additional assistants because we upped our revenue by 85% over 3 years. We've game changed, like we are the city's darlings now, right? And it makes their job easier, and obviously then they've got more resources to get even better. So thank you, gents, for your time and all the insight. It's really been amazing. And we obviously have been working with even your predecessors at the clubs for quite a while now, and it's just great to see that you're going from strength to strength, and it's never finished, right? You can always get better, and you can always look for more opportunities to keep improving. I'm thankful to my team, and Sean is our man on the ground over in Colorado. Joey Walters, our GM. If he's ever at your course, you can't miss him. He's a giant of a man and with a huge heart, and he makes sure things get fixed and done. And David Hamilton, he's out in Augusta. His yard is not looking its best right now after the recent hurricane. I'm fear for him, but and you keep mentioning our customer success team, where a lot of them are actually former PGO pros. They've worn your hat, they know what's going on. So that's the sort of team that we got deployed to look after our partners. Gents, thank you so much. All the best for the rest of your season, and I hope that there's a few more long days of golf in it. And Joe, all the best for your operation, and look forward to getting more feedback on your improvements that you're driving and how the data is trending up and up, and good news from Foothills and Meadows.
Great.
All the
Thank you.
best, and thank you for your time, gents.